Hello, my beautiful angel besties. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Rachel, and in today's video, I'm going to be spending the week doing something very different, very off-brand for me. You guys know, I'm a fantasy and romance girly, and I will be till the day that I die, but I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a reading experiment this month. So for the next 7 days, I am going to be reading books that are out of my comfort zone. If you watched my March TBR, you saw that I kind of teased that I had a little bit of a secret TBR, a little bit of a reading experiment going on this month, and that is what this video is. I am certainly not the first person to do this, but as somebody who reads primarily the same 2 genres all the time with a few other things mixed in here and there, I thought it would be fun to just kind of challenge myself, step out of my comfort zone, step out of the box a little bit, and read some well-loved and popular books in other genres. So even though this is a fantasy and romance house, I am no stranger to other genres. I actually went through a pretty intense thriller phase like 2 years ago, which is wild, but through that phase I was able to read one of my favorite books of all time, which is Gone Girl. I think that is like literary perfection. I also dabbled in horror, just like the slightest, littlest dabble, aka I read Bunny, loved it, and then I read Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, and while I think that book is very well written, I am simply not built for that book. Like, I was way too squeamish reading it, so that kind of ended my horror era. And you guys know I do like to pick up a literary fiction novel every now and then. I do consider Sally Rooney to be like a literary fiction author, and she is absolutely one of my faves. And then, you know, every now and then I'll pick up a classic, dark academia, middle grade, things like that. But I decided it would be fun to just really challenge myself and focus this week on books that I might not normally gravitate towards. So let me talk about my TBR for this week and why I picked these books. So the first book that I'm going to be reading this week is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I feel like out of all the books on my TBR for this week, this is the book that I probably would have just ended up picking up anyway on my own time at some point. I have owned this book for years. I think it is so stunning, and I've just heard nothing but fantastic things about it from people who have read it. This is a dark academia book. It might be kind of like a slow burn mystery too, but I think it's just kind of primarily fits that dark academia box. And this book follows a troupe of Shakespearean actors, and I believe one of them dies, and I think we're kind of like learning what happened. That's all I really know. When it comes to mystery and thrillers, I want to know next to nothing. I want to know like general vibes, and then I don't want to know anything else. So that is the extent of my knowledge on this book, so I'm really excited for this one. So then we are going to be throwing a little bit of sci-fi into the mix, and I'm going to be picking up Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I honestly didn't really know if I would ever pick this book up, but I was on sprints with Kara and Sahar recently, and this book got brought up, and they were just talking this book up so much, saying it was so fantastic, saying that the audiobook was incredible, and they sold me. So I ended up picking this book up shortly after I did those sprints with them, and that was around the time that I was kind of thinking about doing this video, so this just fit perfectly. And this book follows a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, and an ally he never imagined. Once again, that's all I know. We'll see what happens. And the next book that I'm going to be reading is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This was gifted to me by Kara for my birthday. Thank you so much, Kara. And this book is literary fiction with a touch of horror. It's not like majorly horror filled or anything like that, but I do think that there is kind of a soft horror element in this book. But the premise sounds really interesting, and Kara had just been talking about this book. She read it, I think maybe like in January, I want to say, and she was just gushing about it, and she said it's really beautifully written and really amazing. So this book follows a marine biologist. She goes in a submarine kind of on an expedition, and when she comes back to her wife notices that she is very different. She's acting strange, her behavior is off, and I think we kind of find out what happened while her wife was under the sea. So I think that this book sounds interesting and mysterious, and just, I don't know, it gives me good vibes. I feel like this is going to be a really fascinating book, and honestly probably not like anything I've ever read before. All right, and then the last book that I'm going to be reading for this video is probably the book that is most out of my comfort zone, and that is going to be Notes on an Execution by Dania Kakofka. So this is a slow burn mystery. From what I understand, we are following a death row inmate who is going to be executed in 12 hours, and we learn his life story through the lens of 3 women whose lives he has affected, particularly a mother, a sister, and a homicide detective. I did see this book on Katie and Gabby's best books of 2022, and they just talked very highly of it. So this book definitely piqued my interest, just seeing people who normally gravitate towards this genre really loving it, really liking the writing, and thinking that it's a very unique story. So while this is definitely different for me, I am intrigued by the premise. I am excited for what this book has in store for me, and I'm going in with high hopes. Speaking of which, while these books are all very much out of my comfort comfort zone. I specifically picked these 4 books because I do think that I have a good chance of liking all of them. I don't like hate reading. It actually makes me really sad to hate read. Like, reading is my hobby. I want it to be fun and enjoyable all the time. And obviously you never know when you go into a book. You can go in with the highest of expectations and be disappointed, but I specifically picked these 4 books because I do think that I have a good chance of enjoying them. And I mean, who knows? Those could be my famous last words. I could end up hating all 4 of these books, one of them. We shall see. But I am going into these books very positively and just excited to see what I'm gonna think of them. All right, so that is it. That is my TBR for this week, and I'm really excited. So I'm actually gonna go start If We Were Villains right now, and I will check in with you guys in a little bit with my first thoughts. Hello, beautiful friends. So day 1, kind of reading books out of my comfort zone. I have started with If We Were Villains, like I said, and this is very good. This is very, very good so far. I see why so many people like this. I feel like I see this book often in like people's favorite books of all time lists. I can definitely see the merit in this book thus far. I'm still, you know, pretty early on. I'm on page 97, but I was pretty much brought right into the novel. Pretty much right away, I was intrigued by the writing, by the characters, by the mystery. I'm here for it. And also just like the aesthetic of this book is very cool, and I'm really liking that. We have a very interesting and right off the bat, potentially unlikable group of characters, and I love that. From a reading standpoint, I really like unlikable characters because I find them to be a bit unpredictable. I find them to just be fascinating, and I really, really like the group of people that we have here. As I said, we have a group of actors who I believe they go to like a conservatory university, and they are specifically in a Shakespearean acting group, and they're in their senior year, and this is everything to them, right? Obviously, this is their hopeful career. This is what they dedicate their lives to, so they all take it very, very seriously. And we follow this group of friends, and like they are friends, but there's also tension you can feel between all of them. There's competition, there are comparisons happening, there are insecurities. I feel like I've seen a lot of flaws of each of the characters so far, but I've also seen their strengths. I don't necessarily think that anyone is outright bad yet. So I'm just liking the duality of the characters that I've seen thus far, and I think it's really fun. I really, really like Meredith. I loved the scene where there was this like an acting exercise where they had to talk about their strengths and their weaknesses, and I just liked the whole scene of her having to like lay herself bare and just be so vulnerable, and everyone's kind of reaction to that. I think that scene like really displayed the like friendship dynamics, because some people were kind of judging her for the things she said. Some people were feeling bad for her. Like, I don't know. I thought that that was all really, really cool. Yeah, I'm so curious to see what happened. This book is kind of presented to us in a dual timeline. When the book very first starts, we are in the head of our narrator, and I believe that he has just served time for the death of one of these characters. And we don't know who it is, we don't know what happened, we don't even know if our narrator is responsible, but he says that he will tell the investigator the story, and so we kind of go back to the time of when all these things started to happen, and then we also go back to present day, when I believe he's out now, and I think that he's returning to the school. That's kind of my understanding thus far. I might be a little bit fuzzy on those details, but that's what I'm getting thus far. That definitely there's, you know, it's 10 years later, but there's still a lot of weird, kind of murky circumstances surrounding what happened. So I'm just excited to discover more. And I just feel like the author's doing a good job of keeping the mystery exciting. I truly don't know what is going to happen. If a slow burn mystery is too obvious from the get-go, you know, it's not going to keep my attention, but this definitely is. I just think that there's this really cool balance of, okay, there's the slow burn mystery happening, but then there's also just this really fascinating dynamic between this group of people. And it does talk about obsession on the back, and I just love any kind of like obsessive, I don't know. One of my, sorry, my brain is all over the place. I'm really liking this book, and I just like, I have a million things to say about it, and I'm only 96 pages in. But one of my favorite movies is Black Swan, starring Natalie Portman, and that movie it's about obsession and perfection. So I just like any time in any type of media, whether that is books, TV, movies, where obsession plays a part. I just think it's so interesting, and I don't know, I'm thoroughly entertained thus far. I'm really excited, and I hope some freaky-ish starts to happen. I'm really happy with this. I'm super, super excited to keep reading. Those are my word vomit thoughts just far, but yeah, this is really cool. I'm really glad that I started with this book. I had a feeling that I would like it, and this is definitely on its way to being a book that I think is definitely going to have an impact on me, and I'm just enjoying my time so far. So I am very, very curious to continue If We Were Villains. I want to know what is going to happen. So today I'm going to try to spend a big chunk of my day getting through this book and seeing what I think. So I think that's going to be it for this update. Just kind of my quick initial rambling all over the place thoughts, but I feel like we're used to that here. So I'm going to keep reading this book, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit once I'm a little bit further into it. Hi besties. Okay, so I do have very exciting reading check-ins, finished a book, started another, but first, can we address my last clip of the B-roll? Sarah Janet finally, freaking finally posted the Crescent City 3 release date. The book is going to be called House of Flame and Shadow, and it is coming out January 30th of 2024. That is so far away, but I don't even care. I'm so happy that we have a release date. I literally just like, oh my God. So yesterday when I got up, I was like still in bed when she posted that, and I was laying there. I like literally had just woken up, was just kind of looking at my phone, and all of a sudden my phone just starts like going crazy. It's screaming at me. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I don't have my contacts in. I have really, really terrible eyesight. So I was literally like holding my phone 3 centimeters away from my face, being like, okay, what is going on? And the very first message that I decipher that's coming in from Instagram is Cami messaging me saying she posted. And I already knew. I already knew what that meant. My spidey senses were immediately tingling. And I was like, nope, I'm gonna go to Sarah's Instagram right now. And there it was. She had just posted the official announcement. And oh my God, you guys, I'm so excited. I just love having a book to be so excited about, something that I'm so looking forward to. This book is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be a purple cover, which is going to be so stunning. And I have a feeling that Rune Danon, Crown Prince of the Valbaran Fae, might be on the cover. So I just feel like this is going to be the most beautiful of 3 Crescent City books. I really, really love the art style that she has used thus far. So if she continues to do so, I think this is going to be just like the most beautiful. But January, good God, like that feels like a lifetime away, but at least we have something on the calendar. I know for sure that Crescent City 3 will be in my hands on January 30th. Also, that is 2 days before my birthday. So thank you, Sarah. I very much appreciate that. I'm probably just gonna like take that whole week off of work, honestly, and just do like a little birthday staycation / Crescent City 3 breakdown. Essentially, that's what that week will be. So I'm so happy. Oh my God. I love that while I'm doing my like reading books out of my comfort zone, I haven't, talked about fantasy or fantasy romance at all. Sarah decides to say, nope, you're gonna talk about this. So just a little bit of news that I wanted to talk about because I'm just so happy. I'm so excited that we finally have confirmation of the date and the title, and it's going to be amazing. So that is the first bit of housekeeping that we need to do. Number 2, I finished If We Were Villains yesterday, and oh my God, I loved this, you guys. I am so happy that the very first book that I decided to read for this video ended up being a hit. This book was so beautiful, so well written, so interesting, such a character-driven story. I absolutely loved all of these characters. I liked their differences. I liked how well we got to know everyone. I liked even the mystery that is still left about some of these characters, and the ending of this book, like the very end, the last page, I am obsessed with that ending. I am so just like intrigued. I mean, obviously, I think that we're left to kind of just be left thinking, okay, what happened? What's going on there? And I love that. I think that it was just done really well. And overall, I thought this book was wonderful. I think that the writing was great. And I had such a good time. I did give this a 4-star rating though. It didn't give me that like 5-star feeling. I am trying to be like a little bit more particular when I give out my 5-star ratings because I have in the past had a tendency to give out 5 stars like they're candy, but I really want to save 5-star ratings for books that give me like that overwhelming, oh my God, I just read a book that has altered my brain chemistry. Like this is a book that I'm going to think about for a long time. I might want to reread it in the future. I think it's a masterpiece, so on and so forth. And obviously that's all very subjective, but that's just something for me that I want to do. And sometimes when I finish a book, I'm like, am I just on the like post-book high, or was this actually a 5-star? And while I do think this is a really, really strong, amazing dark academia book, I'm sticking with a 4-star rating and I feel good about that. Also, I remember seeing posts going around last year that this book was picked up by Amazon for an adaptation. I'm there. I'm so there. This, I think, will adapt really, really well to screen. I feel like there are some books that would be super hard to adapt to screen, but I feel like this, I think, will be a very easy transition to go on screen. I think that I can really see it as whether it's a TV show or a movie, I'm not really sure, but I think that it'll be really good as long as they don't like change too many things. Hopefully the actors are good and all of that, but I'm so excited for this to get turned into a show or whatever it's getting turned into. I think it'll be awesome. I will 100% be watching that the second it drops on Amazon. I really, really love this book. I'm super, super glad that I read it for this video. All right, so I've now started my second book for this video, and that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Tell me why this book is fantastic. Tell me why this book is just like making me reconsider my entire life. I am obsessed. I'm on page 56, okay? Maybe I shouldn't say I'm obsessed yet, but I'm literally obsessed with this book so far. I was on page 1. I was like, yep, Absolutely. We're doing this. This is happening. I'm falling in love with this book. This book is falling in love with me. I don't know. We're falling in love with each other. I don't even know where to begin. I think that the writing and the wit and the really just this character, our main character, jumps off the page. Truly. I'm listening to the audiobook, which when Kara and Sahar were talking about this, they definitely said, get the audiobook. It's amazing. And I understand why, because this audiobook narrator, he is narrating his ass off. Okay. Where is the Oscar for this man? Because he puts so much inflection in his voice. I know that this sounds like so stupid, but like I feel like I am actually listening to this man tell me his life story with all of this emotion and inflection and passion in his voice, not just like somebody reading an audiobook. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. If you're gonna read this, please do the audiobook and live your best life because you're gonna have so much fun. But this book starts out with our main character. His name is Ryland, and he wakes up and has no memory of who he is or where he is or what he's doing, but he's hooked up to all these machines, and he is kind of communicating with this computer who has been taking care of him while he has been basically in a coma on a spaceship. And he slowly starts to realize that he is an astronaut. He is partaking in this study. I'm on page 56, so I'm still kind of in the beginning, but he's slowly remembering who he is, why he's there, what he's doing, and we're flashing back and forth between what led up to the events of him being on the spaceship and being kind of in this state of not knowing where he is, to him being on the spaceship, waking up, figuring out what's going on, and I think probably going to try to, I don't know if he's going to complete his mission, go back to Earth, whatever it is, but it's just so amazing. Like, it's so well written. I don't know. Andy Weir, the way that he's writing is so incredible and just really, really speaks to me, and just wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's what I have to say about this so far. I think it's really incredible, and as I said, I've like barely even scratched the surface. I'm just so excited to keep reading this book. Literally this morning, I was just like, I cannot wait to pick up Project Hail Mary and keep reading. This just feels like she might be in 5-star territory, because for a book that is science fiction, I mean, I can appreciate science fiction. It's obviously not a genre that I ever really gravitate towards, but this is working for me on so many levels. I love the storytelling aspect. I love the human aspect of, I kind of feel like this narrator, you know, sort of breaks the fourth wall every now and then and like talks to us and then keeps going with the story, and just, yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm loving it. So that is the update. This is going really well. I've only finished one book, but If We Were Villains, she was cute. This, I feel like, is gonna be like a little bit gorgeous, and I'm really excited to keep reading and see how I feel, and I'm just so curious what's gonna happen to Rylan and what his whole journey is going to be. So I am just gonna keep reading, just gonna keep having so much fun, and I really hope that I continue to love this book. I hope it doesn't take a turn for the worse or anything like that. I'm shocked to say. Not shocked isn't the right word. I'm not like shocked that I'm loving this, but I am just like very pleasantly surprised how much this book is hitting me right in the feels. So I'm gonna keep reading this, and then I'll just check in with you in a little bit once I am a bit further into it. Hello besties. So I wanted to do another check-in. It's actually been several days since I have checked in on this vlog, but I have gotten quite a bit of Project Hail Mary done, so I wanted to talk about my thoughts. I have a lot of them. Just do a quick little check-in. I haven't edited this vlog yet, so I don't quite remember where we last spoke. I know that I had just started this, but I am now, let me see, I'm on page 312, so I'm 65% of the way through this book, and I am loving this so much. Like I don't even have the words to talk about how much I love this book. When it first started out, I did really like it right away. I really liked the writing style. I liked our main character, and I was very intrigued, and it was all going super well. But just the more that I get into it, the more that I'm really falling in love with this book and this story, and oh my God, it's amazing. And it's difficult, but I think that, you know, when I talk about this book, I'm probably gonna be pretty vague, because one of the really cool things about this book is when it opens, our main character does not know where they are, doesn't even know their name, has no idea what's going on, and slowly, after they have come out of this coma that they have been in, they start to learn what they're doing, why they're here, who they are, and we go through their memories with them. And so I think it's kind of fun to go into this book with little knowledge, because you kind of start out in the same place as our main character and learn alongside him. So I do kind of want to be a little bit vague. I'm not going to go like too deep into what is going on, but as we've said before, there's a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, and a very unlikely ally. So something else too that I wanted to talk about, I was a little bit worried about it in the beginning of the book. There is a lot of talk, obviously, about science and space and just astrophysics and biology and all these things. And I am not a science girl in school. I was an English girl. I was a reading and writing person, and language and math and science I was average average at best. So in the beginning, I was a little bit like, okay, there's a lot of discussion around science and biology and, you know, space and all of that. I was worried that that was gonna be like too over my head and pull me out of the book and I wouldn't enjoy it, but I fully don't feel that way anymore. In the beginning, it was a little abrupt, but I think once you get into it, it becomes a lot more clear to understand. And I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the science aspect of this book, which is really, really great. You know, if I'm reading a sci-fi novel, I want to be able to understand what's going on. And I don't think that it is too complex for me to digest and then apply to the story and enjoy it. So I'm really happy about that. In the beginning, I was a little like, oh God, am I like too dumb for this? But I'm happy to report I am not. And then just one more thing that I wanted to talk about. Context-free, spoiler-free, I'm not gonna say anything, but Rocky. I literally want to tear up because of how much I love Rocky. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not like, I can't, there are not words to describe how much I love Rocky. I would jump in front of a moving vehicle for Rocky, okay? Like, oh my God. And I just have this ominous feeling while reading this book, and I'm really, really worried that this book is going to hurt my feelings. And I don't know, I don't want to be doomsdaying quite yet. I'm loving the book, and I'm also extremely anxious while reading this because I have a feeling about some things that are going to happen, and I'm really, really scared, and it's going to hurt really, really badly. That's kind of my update. I feel like very emotional reading this, which is so crazy. If you told me that a sci-fi novel was going to make me emotional, literally would never have believed you. So shout out to Andy Weir, can definitely pull out the emotions, but I don't want to like be too concerned yet, and I could totally just be like reading too much into this. I'm just getting this feeling in my gut that I'm like, am I gonna cry when I finish this book? I don't know. That's the update for now. This is going really, really well. I'm loving the plot. I am loving our characters. I am feeling lots of emotions, and it's a really, really fun ride. I'm stunned. This vlog is just going amazing, honestly. I'm so happy that I did this, but let me not get ahead of myself. I haven't finished this book. Speaking of finishing the book, I really want to finish it today. Today is Monday, March 20th, and I would like to get this book finished and just like, I want to know what happens. I just need to rip the band-aid off because yeah, I'm feeling feelings. So I am going to go and try to finish this book, and then I will talk to you all once I am done with it. So I just finished Project Hail Mary. Don't even know what to say. That was incredible. Literally a cinematic, incredible reading experience. The ending was so good. Oh my God. Okay, God. I can't even think right now. This is easily going on my best books of 2023. One of the most like unique stories I've ever read. The writing is great. The heart and characters in this book are so amazing. And you know, it's so epic. It's such an epic story. It's one of those reading experiences where like you finish the book and you're like, did I just read that? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. That's all I have to say for now. I might talk about this more tomorrow when I do a check-in, but 5 stars, like beyond. I'm gonna go now because I feel like I'm gonna have a breakdown, so talk to you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, so it's actually just a couple hours later. I know that I said I wasn't planning on checking in until tomorrow, but after reading Project Hail Mary, you know when you finish a book and you just feel so like inspired and excited to read and you just want to pick something up because that book was so incredible? That was kind of my mood after finishing Project Hail Mary. I finished that book, I cried, I went back and watched the footage of me crying and had a little giggle. And then I was like, you know what? I just want to keep reading. So I said, why don't we keep these good vibes going? I'm going to be picking up the third book for this vlog, and I have done just that. And I am already like 40% of the way into it. So I need to talk to you guys about it. So I picked up Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This book is so weird and so cool and so haunting and like sad and beautiful, and I'm into it. Definitely one of the most unique books that I have ever read. I will say already off the bat, I'm getting those vibes and I'm really, really liking it. I know I haven't edited this vlog yet, but I'm sure I've probably talked about some summary of this book thus far, but just because I have now read it, I will just quickly reiterate. This book follows Miri and Leah. Leah is a marine biologist. She went in a submarine on an expedition and the vessel actually sank to the bottom of the seafloor, and when she came home to her wife Miri, she was acting very, very different. From Miri's perspective, her behavior is incredibly strange. She's not acting like herself, and we get their two POVs. We are in Miri's head, and she is basically just like witnessing her wife's weird behavior, not understanding what's going on, essentially grappling with the fact that she's kind of losing the love of her life. And then when we are in Leah's perspective, we are in the submarine when it was sinking and what that experience was like for her. In bits and pieces though, Leah's perspective is a lot shorter and not as detailed as Miri's is. So we get both pieces of the story through them, and that has been really enjoyable so far. This book definitely does kind of teeter the line between literary fiction and horror. I would say it is a horror novel, but that is written like a literary fiction novel, and I think that the writing is so beautiful in this book. I have actually already tabbed and annotated a couple lines in this book that just really spoke to me and I thought were really, really beautiful. And there's just this overall ominous feeling with this book that I really like, and that is kind of creeping me out, but also just like making me sad, because one of the more unexpected aspects of this book that I'm actually really, really enjoying is when we are in Miri's perspective. You know, not only is she reacting to her wife has come back from this expedition, she's acting very strange, her behavior is so off, but she's also kind of reminiscing on their relationship and their love story, and just kind of, we're getting little insights to who they were before all of this, how they fell in love, and just kind of like narrowing in on those little moments that I feel like in relationships, you have these like cute little memories and cute little moments that other people might not be able to see or would be something that is worth acknowledging. But like when you're in that relationship, you just have like these little bits of history that you like to look back on that you think are really sweet, even if they're the most like mundane things. And in Miri's perspective, we are doing that. So it's actually like very heartbreaking, because from Miri's perspective, she's like, wow, I'm losing my wife. Like she is not the same person she was anymore. And you can feel this like numb feeling that Miri has, this hopeless, numb feeling that she's just like, this is my life now. I don't even really know what to do. I'm so depressed about it. I can't speak to anyone about it. I literally don't even know how to approach any type of solution. And it's very sad, and you just feel this helpless feeling. And I just think that the author is doing a really great job at getting those emotions to leap off the page and make you feel for her. So there is almost this like sad love story aspect to this book as well, which I think is so, so cool. And then when we are in Leah's perspective, we get a little bit of her history, her fascination with the sea, and then also her just talking about what it was like for them to be in the submarine and just realizing that they are stuck. They are at the mercy of the ocean at this point. All of their communication has been cut off and they are sinking. And the way that she talks about the sinking in the ocean and the depths of the ocean. Okay, I am somebody who I find the ocean absolutely fascinating, like endlessly interesting, but it also creeps me out. It's like space for me. Like I think space is so cool and so interesting, but also like yikes, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of scary. It's just like too big for me to think about. And that's just like how I feel about the ocean. Like I'm so fascinated, but the fact that we like don't know all the species that live in the ocean, we don't know like the depths of the ocean. No, thank you. But the way that Leah is like talking about the different levels of depths in the ocean, it's giving me the heebie-jeebies, but in a really good way. There is a line on the cover that says deeply romantic and fabulously strange, and I would definitely agree with that from where I'm at so far. Romantic in kind of like a sad, all hope is lost way, I guess you could say. It is still like really enjoyable just to look back at those like sweet little moments that Miri takes us through and just kind of seeing how different things are in present day. So very, very cool. This book is so interesting. Definitely a book that is very out of my comfort zone and something that feels so, so different from what I normally pick up. But I think that I am gaining a lot from this reading experience, and I'm just excited to see what happens next. That is my check-in for my literary fiction slash horror book for this vlog. So I will talk to you guys when I talk to you guys. Hello friends. We are winding down this reading experiment vlog that I've been doing. We're getting towards the end here because I have finished my third book and started my very last one. So I am excited to talk about my thoughts on both with you all. So I finished Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield 2 nights ago, and what a weird little book. I thoroughly enjoyed this though. It is truly just unlike anything I've read, I have to say. I found the writing of this book to just really fit with me. I really like the very flowery writing of this book. I'm a sucker for flowery writing, and this book definitely has that. I felt that the kind of demise of this relationship and love story that was described in this book was really cool, really well done, very fascinating, and just the like oceanic deep depths little bits of horror were fun and made this novel like super engaging. The ending of this book was weird. It was one of those like, I don't even really know what is going on, but like, sure. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I kind of had a feeling that the ending was going to be something to this effect. And yeah, it was quirky. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really liked it. And I really like the analysis that I have seen some people make about this book. This story can almost be like a metaphor for a failing relationship where one person in the relationship is kind of just like checked out. And I think that that is a really cool way to look at this book. And I think it's given me this like extra appreciation for this story, particularly because I latched on to the dynamic between Miri and Leah so much while reading this, and I just think that's a really cool way to look at it. So really unique, strange, but beautifully written and definitely haunting in multiple ways, and I'm really glad that I read this. All right, so that means we only have one book left, and that is Notes on an Execution. So I'm about 20% of the way into this. I'm listening to the audiobook, so I don't know where I'm at in the book. And oh boy, this is sad. This is depressing, honestly, to read, but I say that as a compliment because this author is really pulling at my heartstrings. And as someone who reads, I feel like, 90% of the books that I read, they evoke joy, right? They evoke joy and happiness. This evokes depression. Like, I feel so sad and so just, a lot of grief for the women that I've met in this story so far, particularly Lavender. Lavender is the mother of the serial killer in this book, and we meet her when she is a teenager. She gets pregnant with Ansel, the murderer, and she's in an abusive relationship. She's so over her head with taking care of a child, and she's stuck in this horrific situation, and it's just so palpable, and it honestly is uncomfortable to read, but definitely like points to the author for getting that feeling out of me, because pretty much straight off the bat, I have felt very sad and uncomfortable reading this book. I think that speaks to the level of writing that this author is getting across. So to say I'm enjoying it is weird, because like I'm not enjoying what I'm reading, but I can appreciate how much this author is making me feel. As I said earlier, this book is kind of like a slow burn mystery. We follow the hours leading up to a serial killer's execution, but we mainly focus on the lives of 3 women that this serial killer has affected. One is the detective, Safi, who was instrumental in getting him arrested. The other is Hazel, who was his sister-in-law at one time, and then also Lavender, who is his mother. So all of their stories, I think, start off really strong. Hazel's story as well, I think, is very interesting. She is the twin sister of Jenny, who was married to Ansel for a time. It's really fascinating looking into her psyche, her view on their relationship, and kind of her competitive nature she has, and this a little bit of like hatred, but also jealousy. It's all very interesting. I really think that this story has just offered up a lot of, I don't know, just packs a punch right in the beginning for sure. And then also Safi, I really like her story. I've just learned a little bit about her thus far, but I think that she is definitely going to be a character that I latch onto in this book. And Ansel, I mean, being in the POV of leading up to his execution is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but I will say overall though, I'm only 20% in. It's an intense reading experience thus far, I guess is what I can say. So that is a good thing, I think. I definitely think that this book is supposed to draw emotions out of you, and it definitely has for me personally. So I am probably going to spend the evening finishing this book up. I feel like this vlog is already very long, so I'm just gonna try to wrap this book up tonight and then give you guys my final thoughts tomorrow. But I'm curious and a little bit anxious to go into the rest of the story, but I will, be happy to kind of get on the other side of this and see what I think. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Alrighty, friends, we have made it to the end of this little reading experiment I did this week. more than a week of me reading books outside of my comfort zone. So that does mean I finished Notes on an Execution. I finished this last night. I walk away from this book with mostly positive feelings when I think about it. I do feel conflicted for sure in my rating and kind of my overall feeling, but I think for the most part, I gained something by reading this, and that was kind of my goal. I think when you're reading something outside of your comfort zone, this isn't the type of book that I normally gravitate towards, and even if I don't love it, I still want to gain something from it, and I do think that I did that. So as I said, when this book started, each of the POVs I was really engaged with. Particularly Lavender's was upsetting and emotional, but in a way that I found very engaging as a reader. Hazel's POV, especially in the beginning, like the psychology with her, what she was going through and her feelings, I felt for her. I was very fascinated by it, and you know, it was dark, but it was interesting. And then Safi, I really enjoyed her, and I rooted for her, and I was really looking forward to reading more of her as she got into the position that she's in now. And then, you know, like with Ansel, our serial killer, he was definitely like my least favorite POV, the one that I was least interested in reading about, and luckily we had him the least. I do feel like though, when we got to like the latter half of the book, I did feel a little bit like, I don't know if underwhelmed is the word, but like whelmed maybe. And I feel like with this type of book, I want to be overwhelmed by the end of it. And I was overwhelmed by the beginning of this book. I was overwhelmed by that first 50%. I felt a lot. I was uncomfortable at times, but like in a good way. I also thought that the writing was just so beautiful. I really liked the flowery writing, the literary flowery writing in this kind of like mystery profile on a serial killer novel. I enjoyed that part of it. But yeah, the ending, I don't know, it just left me feeling like okay when I really wanted to be blown away, and I just wasn't. And I have read books within this genre, within the same vein, that have blown me away more. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I do think it's a solid book though, and I do think that it is pretty unique. The writing style and also the POVs that we get, I did enjoy, and I'm glad that I read this. So I decided to give this a 3.5 star rating. Not a bad rating, but just not overwhelmingly like 4 star, 5 star, oh my god, amazing. I thought that this was solid. So now that I'm done with all 4 books, why don't we rank them? Let's do a little like a Dance Moms pyramid ranking. That sounds fun. Okay, so at the bottom of the pyramid, I hate to say it, none of these books are bad, I will say, but at the bottom of the pyramid is going to be Notes on an Execution. Just had big competition, I have to say. I enjoyed the other books that I read a little bit more than this, but like this is solid, and I get why people like this book. I just didn't connect to it as fully as others. So this one is gonna be at the bottom. You probably like know how this is gonna go, but I have 2 4 stars and I have to decide which one did I love more. Potentially controversial, but my 3rd ranked book in this little ranking I'm doing is gonna be If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is such a solid book. I absolutely loved this dark academia, Shakespearean, murder mystery, literary novel. It was beautifully written, it was engaging, it was interesting. I am so excited for this adaptation too, as I said earlier. Oh my god, I literally cannot wait. This book was really enjoyable. I totally get why people call this their favorite book of all time. Really engaging book and a solid 4 star. And then my 2nd favorite book that I read is going to be Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. The more time that goes on, the more that I find myself thinking about this book, the more that I find myself going, what even was that? But like in a really great way. This book is really beautiful and haunting and like tragic, but also weird. And I really think it's just one of the most unique books that I've ever read. I gave it a 4 star. Honestly, it could be like a 4.5 star at this point. I'm gonna keep like my 4 star rating on Goodreads, but you know, sometimes I rate a book on Goodreads and then later I'm like, no, it's probably a little bit higher or lower, but I just don't change my rating. But this is probably like a 4.5 star rating. I think that this book is so cool. I think it's really different. I think if you're looking for something so different, so weird, really beautifully written, you should try this out because I had a really good time reading this. And also thank you, Kara, for getting me this book because I'm just really happy that I read this. And then number one spot, top of the pyramid, absolute best, is going to be Project Hail Mary. Oh my god, this book has like embedded itself into my soul. I loved this so much more than I thought I was going to. I thought like, I think I'm gonna like this book. I've seen people like this book. Obviously Sahar and Kara really liked it, and I've just heard good things, right? But I just didn't think that I would have the reaction that I had. Oh my god, me crying, how embarrassing. But I was so overwhelmed with like, did I just read that? Like that was my reaction. Did I just read that? And also like, god, the ending of this book, I didn't talk about this, but like I had like 4 different avenues that I thought this book was gonna go down when it came to the ending. I had like 4 endings in my mind, right? And then it did something totally unexpected. I did not expect this ending, and I'll never forget it. Honestly, I truly think that I will think about this book for the rest of my life, actually. I know that's dramatic, but I'm dramatic and I'm saying that with my entire chest. This book is so good and just so original and fantastic, and I also need this to get made into a movie. I don't know if it's going to. I know that his other book, The Martian, which I definitely need to read, has been made into a movie, and I think it was pretty successful, but this book needs to be made into a movie. It's gonna need like $1 billion CGI budget, but I would love to see it. All right, friends, so that is going to be it for this reading vlog. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave the little alien emoji. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram and Goodreads. Both are linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I love you all so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.